Major support for Out to Lunch is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker. Established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys and offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Business First Bank, with locations throughout the state, including 11 offices in the Baton Rouge area, providing personal and commercial banking, treasury management, and wealth solution services to help clients succeed. Business First Bank. Banking with greater momentum. At b1bank.com.
From Mansur's on the Boulevard, we're out to lunch with Stephanie Regal. Stephanie Regal is a broadcaster and editor of Baton Rouge Business Report. It's business Baton Rouge style.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Regal. Welcome to Out to Lunch. In Baton Rouge, real estate is one of the largest sectors of the local economy, and in the world of Baton Rouge real estate, you don't get any bigger than Mike Wampold. Over the past 3 decades, Wampold has established himself as the premier developer in Baton Rouge, with a portfolio that includes apartments, hotels, office buildings, and planned unit developments like Harveston, which is transforming the landscape between Burbank and Nicholson Drive in the southeastern part of the parish. Mike has also been involved in projects in Washington, D.C., Atlanta, and New Orleans, among elsewhere, and no doubt has plenty of other projects up his sleeve that we don't know about. Mike, it's a pleasure to have you on Out to Lunch today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Well, in a couple of decades, our next guest might be Baton Rouge's premier real estate developer. For now, however, Michael Hogstrom is carving a niche for himself on the local real estate scene by specializing in custom home building and infill developments. His firm, Onsite Design and Development, has completed in the past couple of years 2 projects in the mid-city area that exemplify the principles of smart growth. And he's in the process of developing 3 other exciting projects in the Old Goodwood area, including Adelia at Goodwood, which will be built on the site of the Old Goodwood Plantation. Mike, thanks for being here on Out to Lunch today.
Stephanie, thanks for having me.
Michael. We've got a Mike and a Michael. So we'll go back to the Mike for a minute. Wampold, let's start with you and just give people an idea of everything that you're involved in Baton Rouge, because when you start ticking it off and naming the buildings and the apartments, it's pretty amazing. And I think a lot of people don't realize the scope of your empire.
Well, we have we have Wompald Companies, and Wompald Companies consist of Wampold Development Company and Wampold Company, Inc., which is a property management company. Wampold Development Company develops new projects, new properties, and like you said, apartments, office buildings, and hotels. It also acquires and renovates existing projects. And Wampold Company, Inc. is a property management company. So we manage all the properties that we have developed and own, except for the hotels.
Okay.
We don't manage the hotels, so we are busy. We're busy on the development end with, for example, Harveston. I'm partnering with John Fesser on that development, and that will be a 1,500-acre mixed-use development with residential, commercial, office, retail, and so forth. Working on a 144-unit room hotel downtown Baton Rouge at Convention and 3rd.
That's going to be the Autograph Hotel, right?
The Autograph Hotel, which will...
The Watermark.
The Watermark. The Watermark Baton Rouge, which is the historic rehab. It'll be a really cool adaptive reuse of that building. And then, additionally, we have Bayonne at South Shore Apartments on Stanford Avenue, which will be a 240-unit luxury apartment complex right on the LSU lakes off the campus of LSU. So we're busy on the development end, but on the property management end, we manage 1 and 2 City Plaza downtown. We own and manage.
And you built both of those, right? Or you built
we
2?
Acquired 1 City Plaza, and we built 2 City Plaza. We acquired the Chase North Tower, and we own and manage that. We developed the CB&I building, which was formerly the Shaw building at Essen and I-10, and we own and manage that, as well as Chateau Dijon Apartments and Afton Oaks Apartments, as well as the Renaissance Hotel and the Wyndham Hotel.
So we really, everywhere you look in Baton Rouge, your stamp is there somewhere.
We're usually around there somewhere.
I want to bring Michael into the conversation. Onsite Design and Development is a turnkey company, right? And you do everything sort of from the design through the construction, and y'all are focusing right now on the older neighborhoods in Baton Rouge, specifically Goodwood.
We are. For the most part, we're turnkey. We do everything except build.
Okay.
There's a certain exposure and liability there. We've thought about it at times, but the majority of our clients are builders, and so we appreciate them and what they do. As far as turnkey goes, though, from land acquisition, site planning, we have in-house landscape architects. We have an in-house civil engineer. We really feel like we understand what we call the big box, meaning the land or parcel, the medium-sized box, which is the lot or out parcel, and then the small box, which is the building that goes on it. So we have a very macro to micro approach to turnkey development.
And y'all have been growing over the past few years, but you really got big headlines earlier this year when you announced your project for the historic Old Goodwood Plantation.
We did.
Tell us about that, for those who don't remember.
We are beyond thrilled with this project. It is a project that came to us through the current owner of the Goodwood Plantation.
Which is how old, 150?
About 165 years old. It was built in the early 1850s. It's a beautiful it's a beautiful building. I'd love to send people to. We have a great website and video on the plantation. It's Adelia, ADELIABR.com, and that really takes you inside the house and takes you down the front drive. It's a 400-foot drive of oak trees, and it's as people have heard me say before, it's almost like a time machine.
But I think that the beauty or what makes this project so unique is you're going to keep the historic house and build single-family residences around it, yes?
That is correct. The number one goal in the project is to preserve and uplift a beautiful piece of historic Baton Rouge and historical architecture. And as our marketing guy says, kind of we're lifting the veil. If you've lived in Baton Rouge for the last 80 years, you've driven by it several times, and there's a mystique to the property and to the project now. And so we'd really like to lift that veil and open the house back up to the public. And we're working through those uses right now.
That was my next question. Have y'all figured out what you're going to do with it?
It will 100% be a clubhouse for the 45 to 48 residents, homeowners that will live there. We've looked at the idea of a small concierge service or business for people that live there. We've also looked at personally moving our on-site offices to the upstairs of the house itself, which would be exciting for us. And then we've been approached by several caterers and other business interests involving weddings, small luncheons, small gatherings. Well, I've been doing this for almost 18 years across the country, 30 different states, 200 projects. I've seen older buildings, I've seen difficult projects. But this is one, not just with the house itself, but it's 16.8 acres, literally in the epicenter of Baton Rouge. If you kind of take the outskirts of Baton Rouge, Goodwood is the absolute epicenter of Baton Rouge, and the plantation site is the epicenter of Goodwood.
Well, speaking of Goodwood, Mike and Michael, we have a special guest joining us today. Being in the real estate business, you're no doubt familiar with her store, Goodwood Hardware. For nearly 20 years, it has been something of an institution in the local market and has defied industry trends, growing in spite of competition from big box retailers like Home Depot and Lowe's. Her name is Katelyn Comeaux, and her grandfather has owned the store for 20 years. Katelyn, welcome to Out to Lunch.
Hi, it's nice to be here.
And it's neat hearing about all the activity going on in Goodwood. We mentioned Adelia at Old Goodwood. Michael's company also has some other projects in the area as well, right very near your store. What is the secret to your success at Goodwood Hardware?
I truly believe it has a lot to do with the family values, and we try to give back to the community. Our customers are very important to us, and we try to give them that personal touch.
You all call yourself a hardware store. I think what most people really know you for is your outdoor equipment, your grills, your patio supplies and such. Is that the bulk of your business?
We truly have grown to be more than just a hardware store. We do a lot of outdoor cooking. We have a lot of patio furniture, and even your little odds and ends, novelty stuff. We try to bring local products into the store and a lot of things that people wouldn't get to see anywhere else.
And the Goodwood neighborhood is so unique. I mean, it's an older neighborhood in Baton Rouge where you really have that sense of community and a lot of loyal customers, I would imagine.
We do. Our customers are wonderful people who like to get extra help, who like to truly know what they're buying and be educated on their products. And so we do a good job of helping them find what they need and giving them the advice that they are looking for when it comes to doing any sort of project.
I suppose you don't see a whole lot of business from the developers and the development community. I mean, it's mostly individuals buying for their homes?
Well, believe it or not, we do have some contractors that we work with personally. We carry a very good line called Bull. They do a lot of outdoor kitchens, and we have a lot of contractors who come in and buy their products in bulk because it is a good quality product and it is able to help them design a good outdoor living space for their customers.
And how has business been this past couple of years? I mean, I keep hearing about how the economy's booming. We see the data. You know, the indicators for Baton Rouge are strong. Are you feeling it in the retail sector in your hardware business?
We are having a lot more customers come in and wanting to redo their outdoor space. You can tell the economy is doing better. They want to enjoy themselves. They want to spend more time outdoors. So we are seeing a boost in people trying to personalize their outdoor space, whether it be with a barbecue pit or even patio furniture, just making a space they can enjoy with their family.
What about in real estate? I mean, every story we've written this year at the business report, you know, just points to more and more growth in the real estate sector. I was talking to the Planning Commission director a little while ago, and he said their docket for January is busier than at any time since he's been here for 2 years because there's so much growth. Do you see that in your line of work?
Absolutely.
And what's fueling
Harveston,
it?
I think that, I think jobs, number one, spur growth. We're very dependent on jobs in this market and every market. Harveston has taken off. We started selling lots in Harveston maybe, a year and a half ago or so, a little over a year ago. In the first phase of Harveston, the first full phase is 330 lots. We have sold roughly half of those lots within a year and a half, which is
wow,
pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And we have somewhere close to 100 residents that are living
already
out
there
right now. So we have, I was checking with our sales agent, we have one unsold single-family home out there right now that's existing home that's unsold, and we have 2 townhomes that are unsold. Everything else is under construction. As soon as they get built, they get purchased. So what's driving that? All I can say is jobs.
But you see it in, commercial construction. I mean, the hotel sector's booming. You're bringing new hotels online. There are so many new hotels in this area,
Yeah.
and we've done stories too about the potential for overbuilding. Is that a concern in the multifamily sector or single family or?
Certainly happened in the past. I mean, you remember the late 80s and early 90s. And I think you're going to see some of this in Lafayette. Baton Rouge has experienced this great industrial boom along the river. Lake Charles is experiencing this right now. What Lafayette is experiencing is a downturn in the oil industry. So the service industry is going to really, really take it on the chin. They're starting to see it now. We have apartments in Lafayette. We're starting to see some softness in the occupancy rates there. So I think will Baton Rouge see some of that softness? I think that we will in 2016. I think that Lafayette will really experience that in 2016. So I think that caution is urged right now. I think that we'll see, some overbuilding in the student housing end. If you look at all of the student housing that's under construction,
All those
and that
apartments around
LSU is
LSU,
doing,
it's
and
crazy.
that the Nicholson corridor is playing, I don't see how all that product can be reasonably absorbed over the next several years.
And yet people are still building.
They're building.
They're optimistic. Michael, your product appeals to millennials and baby boomers and professionals as well, but you seem to be targeting those two sectors of the demographic market, though.
Absolutely.
The empty nesters and the young ones just starting out?
Absolutely, and I agree with everything Mike just said on the multifamily and commercial side, and as far as single-family residential housing goes, unfortunately, most of my data is from water coolers and lunches like this, but we're at the height of that cycle right now. But a lot of what we're doing is market-driven, and for the first time in a really very long time, in decades, you have two markets, and you referenced them, Stephanie. There's a baby boomer market, an empty nester market, if you will, that is completely 100% aligned with the millennial as far as lifestyle goes. They travel, they entertain, they want that freedom to lock up and go, low maintenance, and I have some personal thoughts on what I refer to as a heightened sense of design awareness in our country right now.
Interesting.
With you can think Target commercials and apps like Pinterest and House and just technology in general, but your average consumer has a lot more to bring to the table as far as expectations now than they ever had before. And so we're able to provide more in terms of quality on smaller lots. And if I can go on a little further
Sure.
and kind of complete the loop, this really, those markets and that market demand dovetails almost perfectly right now with the extended Baton Rouge Horizon plan, which is Future BR. And what we've outlined in there, and I think it's John Freganese began several
Right.
years ago. I think I have his name right. Mixed, diverse housing types, new urbanist principles, walkable communities. These are not new ideas. These are how our forefathers did it 200 years ago. We've just spent a little bit of time moving away from that. And with businesses like Goodwood Hardware, getting to know your neighbor, getting personal service, living on your porch, all the things that Harveston's doing, Willow Grove, there are great communities, and there's some great developers, and
It's exciting, really.
It
to
really
see.
is, So
It's time to do the checklist. We'll take a little break. This is that part of the show where we ask you each a quick question that you probably wouldn't find on a loan application. So, Katelyn, I'll start with you. What part of your job gives you the most satisfaction?
Well, there are two things that make me really happy to go to work every day. One is getting to see my family. It is a family business. We are there every single day, so we do try to get very close to our customers. And on the second end, I really, really do like helping people in the retail setting. Nowadays, you really don't hear that too often, but I like educating them, making sure they know what they're buying, and then when they leave, they're satisfied with it. I don't just want to sell them on something. I want them to be happy with what they bought so they come back.
Great. Mike Wampold, have you ever considered quitting and doing something completely different?
Great question, Stephanie. Have I ever considered that? Oh, yes. When I first started in this business, when times were slow and money was, not there, I used to think about it every day. Maybe I should do something different. Maybe I should go back to school. Well, I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad that I stuck with it. And, now that I've kind of crested the hill, so to speak, and, I can see things a little differently, I don't think about quitting, but I think about doing things a little differently and maybe not taking that lead development role in the next great thing, and partnering with people like Michael, very talented young people who have a lot of energy and ideas to partner with in doing the next great project. I still want to be a part, and very active. Still want to continue to manage the properties that we have, and I want to do that, for the foreseeable future. But finding guys like Michael and the Goodwood project and doing things like that, more like that in the future.
Very interesting. Michael, here's one for you. What's your favorite question to ask someone in an interview?
Another good question in this interview, Stephanie. I usually go through a boilerplate list of questions, and the last question I always ask someone when interviewing them, because I typically feel the real interview doesn't begin until you start negotiating with someone. But I ask them, if you could do any job in the world right now, it's kind of similar to the question you asked Mike, what would you do? And I say, don't tell me you want to work at an architecture firm, or don't tell me you want to work at a planning, design, and development company. What would you do? And I say, if I had my druthers, I would be a band manager for Radiohead. I would go out on the road and listen to music. That's what I would do right now. But it's a great question to really see where their passions lie,
Yes.
and see their ability to present their personality and character to me, because what really fuels on-site design, if I can take an opportunity, are the personalities and the passion of what we do there. We're and Mike just alluded to it, we're a young office. I'm 38 and I have the most gray hair in the office, and it's tough for me to keep up at times, but I have a group of people that care about each other and care about what they're doing together, and that's the best way to recruit new employees.
That's great.
Yeah.
I want to ask y'all each the same question. You may have different perspectives on it, but what do you think is the biggest impediment to growth in Baton Rouge? What holds Baton Rouge back? Whether it's an attitude or a mindset or just a way of doing business here, or whether it's physical limitations of the boundaries of the parish. I don't know.
I'll take that one first, just because I've made a few comments over the last 2 years. In Baton Rouge, it's about 10 to 15 years behind what I would call an average smart growth city. And I think the number one challenge in Baton Rouge is that Baton Rouge has a tough time not just retaining, but retaining and attracting young talent. And I think a lot of that has to do with using our infrastructure better to create a stronger sense of place. Baton Rouge has the best people, the best food, and the best college football. But I'll tell you, there's sometimes I'm a new father for the first time. I wake up on a Saturday morning and I think, well, what am I going to do with my family today? And we love our Breck Parks and we get out and we do some things, but I think about our sense of place. I think about communities like Goodwood, where galvanizing those older neighborhoods with new developments and new places to eat, new places to live, new places to shop and work, and using a spine like Government Street. We're trying to do our part on the eastern anchor, and Mike's doing his part for sure downtown. I love, and there's a ton of guys working hard in the middle and mid-city right now. We have a really unique opportunity to create a strong sense of place, not just in mid-city, but in other areas of Baton Rouge and Harveston.
What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you asked that question, because we went through a process with a series of meetings that the chamber hosted with a number of maybe 20 or 30 participants on where do we see Baton Rouge in 2020 and the next 20 years, and what would hold us back. And it's exactly what Michael said. It is the lack of the sense of place. And what gives Baton Rouge a sense of place? Well, quality of life. And what are the concerns there, and what are things that need to improve? Traffic, our infrastructure, crime, schools, public school systems. Why are we losing people like Albemarle? Why are we losing corporate people like CB&I that they're going back to Houston? Why are we losing the corporate Amedisys? That's some of the answers that we need to get to. Quality of life type things. What do you do with your kids I'm a new father too. Well, I have a 3-year-old, so and it's the LSU Lakes would be a great project to expand that and to create a great quality of life there. There was an article today in the paper about the Baton Rouge Zoo. How many people in South Baton Rouge? There's a North Baton Rouge versus a South. Where is the best place for that, and where would the greatest number of people be to enjoy that and to to bring that zoo wherever it is into the 21st century. Those types of quality of life things. And I think that, it takes a coalition. It takes private business. It takes the Baton Rouge Area Foundation, LSU, the state, the city, to form a coalition to make these things happen and to improve these things.
And I mean, no doubt the dialogue is underway. I mean, the need for this is recognized, and people are starting to do something. But it's, as you say, it's a little bit behind the curve. It's a couple of decades late.
But that's some of the best opportunity. And I mentioned Frank earlier, and Mike just mentioned BRAF and BRAC, and we have great organizations, but it's okay to be a little bit behind. I think we can, there are opportunities there to leapfrog fairly quickly, and Mike's right, and we discuss. It is about sense of place, and we're kind of you compare Baton Rouge to cities like Austin or Portland or even Memphis, maybe a little bigger, Dallas or Atlanta. That's where the sense of place may be a little bit stronger, but we have that opportunity. The time is literally right now. We're on the forefront of that, and there's a lot of people working really hard, everyone at this table, to make that happen. So
that's great. Well, y'all, believe it or not, that's all we have time for. So it went fast. So thank y'all so much for being with us today. It's great to hear about what you all are doing to create that sense of place in Baton Rouge and to help grow the economy here. Mike Wampold, Mike Hogstrom, and Katelyn Comeaux, thanks for joining me today on Out to Lunch.
Thank you,
Pleasure.
Stephanie.
Thank you.
My guests on Out to Lunch today have been Mike Wampold of Wompald Companies, Michael Hogstrom of Onsite Design and Development, and Katelyn Comeaux of Goodwood Hardware. You can find out more about Wompald Companies, Onsite Design and Development, and Goodwood Hardware by following the links on our websites, wrkf.org and itsbatonrouge.la. Today's show was recorded live over lunch at Mansur's on the Boulevard in Baton Rouge. Mansur's is open for lunch daily from 11 to 2, for dinner nightly, and for brunch on Saturdays and Sundays. The producer of our show is Grant Morris. Our technical producer is Eric Merle. Our associate producer is Peter Raschuti. And our Baton Rouge business consultants are Charlie D'Agostino and Ann Edelman. You can see photos from this show on itsbatonrouge.la and on our Facebook page. These photos are taken by Ken Stewart. Mitch Foreman wrote and performs all the music on Out to Lunch. Mitch's new album, Puzzle, is out now. You can find out more about that at mitchellforeman.com. You can get this show as a podcast, you can listen to past shows, and you can keep up with us on all kinds of social media by going to our websites, itsbatonrouge.la and wrkf.org. Out to Lunch is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsbatonrouge.la and WRKF 89.3 FM. I'm Stephanie Riegel. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to meeting you again next week around the table here at Mansur's for more business Baton Rouge style on Out to Lunch.
Major support for Out to Lunch is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker. Established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys and offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Business First Bank, with locations throughout the state, including 11 offices in the Baton Rouge area, providing personal and commercial banking, treasury management, and wealth solution services to help clients succeed. Business First Bank, banking with greater momentum at b1bank.com.